Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Trading Triangle. Another installment on February 16th. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you doing? Happy
Yeah,
Sunday
very,
to
very good.
everybody.
Yes, it's a weird one. I'm in between jobs coming up this week, so it's going to be interesting. It means I get to do more trading, which I always love to do, of course. We start every stream with obviously a bit of a disclaimer. We're just a couple of guys on the internet looking at charts. That's what we love to do. But obviously, it's not financial advice. Thank you once again to Wolf and Ashley's platform. We really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I think, well, subscribe actually to the YouTube channel on the bottom left hand corner. We're going to be doing some special episodes coming up in the next few months, which obviously we're very, very excited by. Is my camera just frozen?
Yes, it is.
I might switch that up in a minute just to make that a bit smoother, but I'll just finish off by saying get your audience requests in down below. We'd love to see what kind of stocks that you're after, what we want us to look at, give us a bit of perspective. And I'm just going to go ahead and fix this camera. Well, no, it seems to have fixed itself. Okay, we'll go with that. Awesome. I think that's it to start off with. Should we jump into the slideshow, okay?
Let's do this.
Awesome. I might leave that up for a second so people can kind of put their ticket requests in there.
All right, we already got the first one in, so
sweet. And you're going to write them all down as always, which we'd love to see. And this, so obviously another one actually. The market's closed tomorrow for President's Day. Is that right? So we don't have that over here, obviously, because we have prime ministers and we don't have a special day for them. Anyway, last week it felt really bullish. Last week I was really excited. But looking at this on the screen, and you've got a few names like Microsoft, Google, even Tesla down, and Amazon slightly as well. What were your kind of takes from this week? Did you enjoy it? Or
yeah, I think for me personally, I really enjoyed this last week in terms of my main play is NVDA, and you can see it was 7% plus.
yeah, really
I think we'll cover NVIDIA a little bit in detail when we get to the charts. But overall, it was a pretty good week, I would say. I still don't get why Apple was up. I think I know the reason why it was up because of the news they're tying up with Alibaba. But as of right now, I have really not seen anything major coming out of Apple. And folks can tell us in the comment section. But unless you are using an iPhone 16, have you really seen any major changes in the Apple Intelligence that has improved your life? I haven't really seen much examples personally, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, my phone's too old, so I can't get those updates. Can you get yours and yours or not?
I can, but I have I have a 14, so
Yeah.
it hasn't. I know for a fact that okay, I can say Siri. Siri has a little bit more smarter, but would I pay a premium price for that? I don't know.
Probably not. We've got all of that accessibility online, haven't we? ChatGPT, etc., and Perplexity.
Exactly.
And just one final mention here, you've got Palantir down here, almost 7%. It's up to $120 now, which I'm sure you're very happy with, Kay.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I know a little bit off topic on so my nephew is big into Palantir, and he has been buying since the 50s. And he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, should I buy more?" I said, "I don't know whether you should buy more or not. I'm not going to tell you. Or I'll tell you is that I will not buy more at all-time highs because even a pullback to $90 is like a 25%, down. I don't want to, go down."
So he must be pretty pleased with himself if he did buy more.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty pleased. But the point is, like, if you're buying for long term, and if it pulls back 30%, hey, you're down on your investment on 30%, right?
Yeah, but long term, you just
more at 20s and 30s and 40s, right?
Exactly. Right, we'll move on from this one then. We've spoken a little bit about that. The fear and greed index was still sitting below neutral, which is very, very interesting given we're basically all-time highs, which I guess we'll jump into in a second with the SPY and QQQ charts. But yeah, I mean, we've got FOMC meeting minutes on Wednesday. So if you are holding trades around that sort of time, I believe it's normally a couple of hours before close. So if you are holding positions on Wednesday evening, do be careful. I know I would be careful, that's for sure. I'm doing a little bit more day trading now, which is obviously exciting. And obviously, like I said before, at the beginning at the stream, the market is closed tomorrow for President's Day. Do you want to run through the numbers on the left there, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely. So the put to call ratio actually got a little bit more bullish. We were 0.67 or 0.68 last week, and then we have gone a little bit more, slightly more bullish, even though it doesn't reflect much on the fear greed. The VIX has come down to 1477. What we are noticing is, at least for a couple of weeks, that generally on Mondays, the VIX really spikes up and then it slowly comes down to around the 14, 15. So it feels like 14 might be the the baseline wicks number that pretty much we go into a week. SPY we were up a 1.15, QQQ we were up 2%. IWM surprisingly was actually pretty weak. It was only down like 0.13, but still there's a lot more weakness on the small to mid caps.
Maybe we could bring that chart up a bit later on. We can have a look at IWM. I'm sure folks are quite interested in that. I know I haven't looked at it for a few days, so maybe
I'll put that on the list for us to review.
Awesome. We keep them coming in. Obviously, we've got SoFi coming in here. We've got Microsoft,
Oracle, Tesla,
and Tesla as well. Yeah. So keep them coming in, guys. And then with that, we'll move on to the next slide, which I believe is earnings. Earnings season very much underway. And there's two straight off the bat here that really take my fancy. And that's Rivian here after the close on Thursday. No surprise there. And obviously Alibaba on before close on Thursday. So Thursday is going to be a busy day for me personally. Anything you're looking at?
So yes, I'm looking at Arista, which is after close on Tuesday. I want to keep an eye on Oxy, see if they have make any special announcements on increase in stake from Warren Buffett. Block is on Thursday as well, which is now called XYZ stock. So those are a couple apart from Rivian. The reason I like Rivian is because I'm looking into Rivian as a vehicle rather than the stock. So it has caught my fancy. I'm pretty interested in the R2 that they plan to launch next year.
The vehicles are really, really intriguing. I think the customer focus behind them as well, which is an interesting game plan from them. One that seems to be working so far, so all may continue. If they get those grants from the government, etc., it's only going to get better for them in the future as well. We've got a few more coming in. We've got Snow, which is one that I'm actually looking at the moment. CLFT, Bill, and TDT, and CLSK. So yeah, I think that's it for that one. We'll jump into our first chart of the day, which is SPY. We are just... Is it SPY? Yeah, it's SPY.
Yeah,
I thought I started QQQ for a second there. But we're actually at all-time highs. Not quite at the moment. We did close a little bit down below, but we did just peak up into all-time highs for SPY. Now, so I drew this line actually a couple of weeks ago. It's been on our streams for the last few weeks. And she's been playing out, obviously not exactly because I'm not a magician, but she's been playing out fairly well. So in my book, I've got it coming back down to this volume down at 604. Do you see that as well, Kay, or not so much? Do you think it's going to go a bit higher than this?
Well, I think at this point in time, we just keep making newer highs every day. So it has become more of a news-driven market. But I do agree with you that I would be a little bit more comfortable at around the 602, 604 that you are looking at, because there's a pretty decent liquidity at those levels. But unless we see some major announcement that could hamper, I don't see the trend changing anytime soon. Pretty much from a put to call ratio, we are pretty standard this week as well. There's nothing special or surprise that's there.
And you were a bit surprised about CPI coming a little bit hot on Tuesday, and obviously PPI was kind of pretty much flat as well. And a couple of rebound days, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But Wednesday, Thursday, really big candles. Are you surprised to see that, or you think it's kind of normal?
No, I mean, if you look at the CPI numbers, it's been hotter in the last 4 months continuously. Now, Trump hasn't really played a role yet, at least for the January numbers, but he will play a role when it comes to February numbers. So I don't know about the tariffs and all that stuff that's going on. Every day the news changes. But if there are tariffs that are already enacted, you will see some more, what's the word I'm looking for? You'll see some impact on the CPI numbers for next month. And next month is going to be pretty interesting.
So perhaps maybe not as smooth sailing as it is now. We'll see what happens. I know Trump has an effect on the markets, that's for sure. Same with the QQQ. Obviously, we've come up to all-time highs. Didn't actually make the new high on Friday, like the SPY, but we do have, again, some aggressive buying candles coming into that kind of level of 539, as we can see on the right-hand side there. Same sort of story as SPY. Obviously, just keep plugging upwards. If we can break that, then great, fantastic. New all-time highs, and we might see a bit of excitement even still. But if not, I see it coming back down to the sort of level of maybe 530. I haven't actually drawn a line here, but around about 530 to kind of meet this trend line that's obviously kind of drawn through the screen here. Any thoughts on the QQQ or just similar to the SPY here?
No, I think similar to the QQ, similar to the SPY, and the only thing I will add on this one is that most of the mega cap earnings are over, except the NVIDIA, which is probably, I don't know, 226 or the week after that. That is going to have a bigger impact, and we'll see how that plays out. But until then, I guess they go hand in hand pretty much.
I think the NVIDIA chart's really, really interesting. Obviously, you're putting it up this week. So I'm looking forward to seeing your take on NVIDIA, because it's really rebounded very aggressively, I thought. But yeah, again, we'll jump into that a bit later. So we jump into the first chart here, okay,
Let's
for me?
do this. Yep.
All right.
And go ahead. And actually, why don't you make the announcement on what's the change this week onwards?
Oh, yeah, of course. So from this week onwards, I should have probably said at the beginning, but we're just going to do one single pick each. It's more of a focus, so we can have a bit more of a focus on one stock ourselves for the week. And also it's more of a focus on the audience as well. So obviously you can keep bringing in your requests down in the comments there on YouTube and X, etc. We can get a bit more time to kind of look through your requests, which we do love to do, because it helps you out, it helps us out with new ideas. And we're going to be doing that for moving forward, aren't we, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely. So more time for the audience request. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah, so with this one, actually, I'm going to move us out of the way because you can't quite see the whole chart here. This is AMD. This is my pick of the week. And it's really, really simple. I just wanted to break this trend line that's been going on since October of last year. As you can see, the top left-hand corner there. All the yellow lines are representing the gap fills. So the biggest one, obviously, sitting at 159. Down below that, we've got 137, 127, and 122. So obviously, if we do break this trend line resistance that we've got kind of flowing through the screen, I look at obviously 122 as the first target, and then the second target is 127, and so on and so on. It's really as simple as that. Are you looking at AMD at the moment, Kay?
Yeah, so AMD, I'm already in one of the plays. Actually, I've been in AMD play for a couple weeks, actually, a couple months now. I'm starting to like AMD a little bit more, because if you actually draw the trend line much longer time frame from like March of last year, much longer time, right? Yeah. You'll see that this particular last two candles have started to peak above that. And that's a good sign for AMD, because AMD has been really thrashed left, right, and center from the last couple of months. And it's just been a pretty bad downtrend. Now, I really want to see AMD having a breakout of this and have a continuous strong movement upside, because otherwise we'll continue to see the downtrend. And this could be the turnaround. And I think the NVIDIA earnings might be the one that could turn around the semiconductor market overall.
Exactly. It's right on the edge here, isn't it? And you can see obviously in the last kind of 6 or 7 trading days, it's kind of barcoding upwards, which is interesting to see, because it's kind of almost a bit of a bear flag. If we do break lower, then we go to further lows, of course, and that's absolutely fine. But it is kind of almost giving the impression that it wants to kind of push through that. But obviously that's not financial advice, it's my perspective on the chart, and obviously yours as well, Kate. But yeah, no, it's an interesting pick. I'm looking forward to seeing how it kind of performs this week. Going forward. But yeah, that's it. That's my pick for the week. So you can find me on, hang on, where am I? You can find me on X, where I post daily trading insights, obviously a little bit updates around kind of my trades as well. YouTube, I'm going to be active on there quite a lot more, because obviously in between jobs I can have a lot more time. So I'm going to be going live there this week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday before the market open. With my kind of fresh ideas and live trading as well. So that's the kind of focus there. And then finally, the TTR, that represents the trading community, which you can access through my X profile. We'll hand over to Kay's first chart, or only chart, should I say.
Yeah, the first chart is going to be NVIDIA, and actually the first and only chart. And if you look at NVIDIA, has had a pretty rough couple weeks or couple months, I would say. But the interesting part is NVIDIA generally is trading in a nice range. And this particular 129 has, if you zoom out a little bit, you will notice that this particular line, or this particular level, has been the resistance and support for NVIDIA for going back almost 1 year now. So this was a very, very important level for NVIDIA to break out and have a retest. So if you can see, we did break out. We retested 2 times before having that run up. And currently, I'm already in a trade in this one. This is an option trade. So I did open. Let me see. What did I open? This one. I think I did open a bull call spread on this one. Yeah, long call spread. I did open this one. And one of the main reasons was that it is showing an opportunity for a potential breakout. And the reason I opened a bull call spread instead of just buying a call, you could also buy, you could have bought a call, but generally with call happens is there is an unlimited upside potential, but then you lose all, right? So bull call spread helps me to limit the amount of money I'm putting up front for the trade, as well as also limiting the gains. But at this point in time, I'm happy with my trade that's currently going on. What I really want to see is that continuous uptrend going back all the way to the line. Let me see. I don't see what.
153.
Yeah, 153, the top line. I want Nvidia to go back and test that again, and with the earnings coming up, that could be the catalyst that we could see a break above that, and that's basically what we are playing for.
Yeah, it's interesting having a look at SOXX and SMH as well. They're kind of at kind of vital points technically as well. Can't technically trade ETFs too much in my opinion, but obviously we'll see what happens with that. But just a little observation from my behalf: if you drew a line from this high here back in late December and drew it across the tops of these three candles, you do have a bit of a trendline resistance that's kind of approaching now, and the volume profile you mentioned, and obviously the kind of resistance here as well. So perhaps it might have a little resistance kind of going into Tuesday morning's trading. One to watch, and maybe if we get a bit of a retreat back down to the 129 level you mentioned, I would really like that for an entry for further upside. And obviously that would subsequently break that line I spoke about at the beginning of this little chat, I guess. I couldn't think of the word. But yeah, that would be really nice. It'd be healthy for me to see a retreat back down to 129 and move higher.
So would you, let's say, if you were not in there, would you want to enter at 129 if it goes and gets rejected from the trend line and then retest? And
I think all the time that SPY and QQQ is making all-time highs, I would definitely buy at 129 because it just makes sense with obviously everything kind of all a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would make sense to me personally. I know there's a lot of green candles here, but you can always get more green, just like you can always get more red.
Yeah. Of course.
You just read the chart how it is and you trade the chart. It's as simple as that. Don't get any emotion into it. Don't get any bias into it. Very hard. That's why trading is really hard, of course. But yeah, if you can just read the chart, play the candles, then you're doing a pretty good job in my opinion. Yeah, no, I like it. I do like NVIDIA, but I like it more at 129.
All right.
Where can we find you, Kay?
Well, you can find me on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. I pretty much post daily over there, a lot of different type of content. YouTube, post on a regular basis as well. Definitely check it out. I know there was a couple requests on the request here that I have made videos. Snow in particular, definitely go check out that video. Google is coming up next week for me. I'm making a video on that as well. And then, yeah, if you like the written version of Falling Trades, go ahead and subscribe on Substack as well.
Awesome. Always a good content provider for sure, especially on YouTube. I like watching your YouTube videos. Right, let's jump into the charts then. We'll stick this graphic up just quickly while I sort everything else. Remember to put your tickers in requests in the comments. We've got a few coming in. I just need to sort out what I'm doing here. Let's turn that off and then get the charts up.
All right, the first one, whenever you're ready, we'll start the first one with SoFi. That was the first request.
Lovely. Right. I'm locked and loaded. SoFi. I've not looked at this one this week, actually. I normally look at it quite a lot, but seems to be blasting through this trend line immediately. Do you have any thoughts immediately on SoFi? I know you like the fintech space.
I think I did cover SoFi during the earnings. I had covered the earnings. I covered the pre-earnings trading idea. Then I covered the post-earnings. How did the trade go and how I'm doing. So I'm currently just managing my trade over there for SoFi. As long as it stays above $15, I'm profitable. That's all I'll say.
Awesome. We always like to be profitable, don't we?
Yeah.
Just a quick plug before we dive straight into the actual audience request. We've done one, of course, SoFi. But obviously, back on the bottom left-hand corner, you guys subscribe to Trading Triangle channel on YouTube. We're going to be doing a few more special episodes coming up in the next couple of months around risk management, around kind of trading psychology and kind of how we look at trades, etc. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, obviously go ahead and subscribe over there. And yeah, we'll continue going through these charts. What's up next? Okay, I'll leave that analysis just until I think you said it perfectly. So
next up is Microsoft, which we haven't covered like in a long time now.
Yeah, I think I brought this one up on X yesterday,
Okay.
down to the weekly chart. My internet seems to be a bit slower, so we'll just have the talk through the dial-up connection. There we go. So yeah, we've got the weekly chart here on the screen. We've got a zone drawn between kind of 408 and what looks to be about 425, and we're kind of a bottom of that zone and also bottom of the wedge. We had a bit of a bounce actually during the week on the weekly candle there, as you can see. So perhaps maybe we might be going back towards the top of the wedge, and obviously what happens at that point is still yet to be determined. But I still like it within this wedge. Maybe we get a bit of a return back to the top of the wedge. Is that something you trade, Kate, in this kind of range of a wedge, or are you just solid between two levels?
No, so I generally trade between the levels itself that I'll draw. So it depends on if it's a weekly chart. If it's a weekly options play, then I generally look at very tight ranges, mostly in this way. If it's a much longer trade, like for example, if I'm doing 3 months out, then I'll trade the wedge as well, it gives me a much broader trading range. Microsoft in particular, I don't trade that much because the premiums are not that great for me personally. And it's been pretty stagnant for a while now. They really ran up very well a couple of years, like 2023 was when they really took advantage of the OpenAI and launching their Copilot, but they really haven't done much. They haven't been able to commercialize that's not the right word. The word is that they were not able to get a lot of customers to buy Copilot and basically monetize it. That's the right word.
Still, in the last 2 years, it's gone up 85%, which is pretty good for a Mag 7 stock. So maybe a little bit of consolidation was actually already good for the stock, as you know, it's on the cards. Briefcase, which is a brilliant name, by the way, I love that. Says Microsoft can be challenging to trade. I don't trade it much myself, especially on the daily time frames. Sometimes I day trade it, if that makes sense, like intraday, but it's very, very rarely. I prefer more volatile kind of assets around kind of actual US 100, obviously, and Tesla sometimes I dabble in on the day trading. But yeah, no, I like Microsoft here, maybe for like a long-term position, perhaps, but I know won't be buying anytime soon, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, I mean, both Microsoft is definitely below its 20 and 50-day moving average. So for long term, it's not a bad idea.
Is that the daily as well?
On the weekly, hold on, that's on the weekly. Let me see.
And
On the daily, they are down below everything 20,
yeah, wow.
50, 200.
So it's an interesting spot. It doesn't really respect any of them, to be honest, does it? Because it's very erratic price action throughout the whole lot. So perhaps you should just disregard all the moving averages completely, especially on the daily time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Microsoft, one to watch, I think. I want to write that one down, actually.
Next up is Oracle.
Lovely. Yeah, I need to get my internet sorted, I think. I don't know if it's the internet or the actual trading view. Could be trading view, might be a bit sticky. But it will eventually come up, hopefully.
Oh, we can see Oracle.
Can you?
No, that's Microsoft.
Oh, right. I was going to see it before I see it. Let's try a different one, see if that works.
Okay, so try another one, Tesla.
Oh, here we go. No, we got it.
Got it? Okay.
So it normally does this every now and then, but then it'll be fine for a little while. So that should be it for now. Oracle. We've got a couple of gaps that I've drawn already by the looks of it. We might zoom out. It's always good to zoom out before you zoom in my opinion. I don't know who brought this one up, but it's always nice to see Oracle every now and then. But very choppy last 3 or 4 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it really. I believe this was. When was the announcement of Stargate? Somewhere in the 3rd week, right? Last week of January, 1st week of February.
So we're looking at this, possibly this bounce one, but that's from the 27th of January. So this one here, maybe?
Could be. That could be the one.
Even still, very just crazy candles. So went all the way up, gapped up, and then gap back down again. So that's actually a gap fill to be filled. So we can put a little line there. But it's not quite a fill on the screen there. Yeah.
Do you trade? No, not at all.
Really, no. And it's, on my trading platform, there's only a select few stocks that I can really trade. It's kind of Mag 7 and kind of some indices. So day trading wise, no. But I can also trade on my other platform, of course, and I can trade Oracle there. But it's not really a very interesting stock, at least for me.
I see. I mean, at this point in time, I would say we are still in a good spot from a
I like it.
from a liquidity standpoint. If we can break this up, I see we could climb all the way to 186. But is there any catalyst that would break? I don't follow Oracle that closely, so I don't know if there is any.
But we're above the 20 and the 50. We've also got a bit of volume on the side here, so maybe we can get a snip straight up to 184. But all this price action we've had in the recent couple of weeks makes me think that none of that really matters. But that's a pretty good. I mean, it's 5.82%, so it's not too bad. Nothing to go by. I typically look for 10, 15 at least on the trade. So maybe, I mean, even that, you're looking at kind of all-time highs at 10, 15. So yeah, I won't be looking here anytime soon.
Okay.
What's next?
Oh, your favorite, Tesla. Actually, all of our favorite.
Everyone loves Tesla.
I don't know about love or not, but hey, it's a good money-making stock.
Yeah. It's a liquidity champion, that's for sure.
Exactly. Whether you are trading stocks or options, it's one of the best out there.
So we've got an obvious kind of lower trend line kind of happening here. You might be even bring that a bit lower. It's had a bit of an aggressive week. So we've got obviously Monday, Tuesday was a big kind of drop down, maybe a reaction to kind of CPI. And then kind of plugged up a little bit on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday is quite nice price action actually, because it kind of came back down towards this kind of volume on the right hand side here, and then kind of pushed out back up from that volume on the side. What do you see here, Kay? Do you see it going maybe revisiting the trend line, or perhaps going a little bit lower?
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually go revisit 334, because 360 was where I had opened a covered call for last 3 months that I have been in that covered call, and I was hoping that my shares would get called away. And the way it was progressing, it was 364, 365 during the day trading, and I was happy. I was like, oh, okay, I can get rid of this stock. But apparently it actually closed below 360. So 360 seems like, even though there isn't really not much liquidity at those levels, but seems like it got pushed down from 360. Must have been a lot of contracts expiring at 360 then.
Yeah, we had a bit of price action back here in November of last year, within that range as well, between that 325 and 360 range.
Yeah.
So maybe we kind of chill here for a little bit before we make a move higher above this kind of trend line. But I do like this last candle on Friday for sure.
Let me ask you this. Do you know, I don't track the delivery numbers and all that stuff, but do you know when they will release their next delivery numbers?
It will be the 2nd. They always do theirs on the 2nd. So it'll be 2nd of March.
2nd of March. So we still got like about 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Thereabouts. I don't even remember what January's was. January's deliveries. But they're normally thereabouts with their estimates.
Okay, so I think that will be a very crucial and critical point for Tesla as your investor, as a trader, because if their numbers show still weakness, we may actually go down and fill those gaps that Tesla created a long time back.
Yeah, and I think the competition within the Chinese space as well is they're kind of diminishing their deliveries there, because the Chinese vehicles are obviously kind of pushing forward and taking the market a bit more. Not necessarily NIO, because I know you were going to mention that, but like BYD, etc. BYD, I think very big in China.
I agree. I think BYD does pose a big threat, and especially you can't take the politics out of this, because Elon Musk is a little bit too much on TV, and making it's definitely going to alienate one side of the shop, right? And we are seeing backlash, at least from Canada, that they're proposing to put 100% tariff on Tesla. Whether that goes through or not, or is it just a bluff, we don't know. But again, it's not good for the brand per se, or at least in the short term. And we're talking short term, we're not talking long term here. So
exactly. Awesome. So interesting things going on. Tesla, what's up next? Okay.
Do you want to cover IWM, or we can keep it for the end? Otherwise, we can go to snow.
We'll keep it for the end. We'll go to snow.
Right.
And I'll let you talk about this one, because I think a few more. Should I zoom into the weekly for you, or should I just keep on the daily?
We can keep it daily for now. So personally for me, if you had been following, if you have been following me for a while, I actually got into the snow trade 2 earnings before, and there have been many gaps on the gap down and gap ups, and we basically are trying to target those gaps. Snow was trading very nicely in this range of consolidating from what August of last year all the way to November, until we saw that uptrend and then the gap up. Now
Probably
again,
this
we are
one.
seeing a very similar trend. Yeah, exactly, right there. And then we are seeing a very similar trend. I'm looking at my chart here because I have the lines drawn.
Yeah.
And then we are seeing a very similar trend over here. We are starting to see the higher highs, and we are slowly starting to climb to fill that gap that we had created when we reported earnings, what, last February, March, or something like that. That,
That's that
yes.
one. Yeah.
So if you think about it, it took almost a year to come close to fill that gap, and we don't know if we'll fill it or not. Did Snow report earning already? Let me see.
No, so they're on the 26th of February.
So
That's
okay,
not this week, the week after.
got it. So I think we need to track how they are progressing. I guess from a SaaS standpoint, they are pretty solid as a company, and from a long term standpoint. And it used to be a retail favorite. Key is, with the management change, are they still adding more to their existing customers? Are they doing cross sells and upsells and cross sells across the existing, basically keeping the customers, keeping the existing customers and expanding within it? That's the key for Snowflake. We'll see how that plays out. I'm pretty bullish from a long term standpoint, but I would like to see them filling this gap, which will be almost a year.
Yeah, and that's so from here to the gap is 20%, and then to the most recent high, which we had a little while back, obviously, and that's 26%. So in between 20 and 25% ish. That's not bad. That's pretty not. That's not too bad. I think for me, it's more potent on the weekly chart. As you can see on the screen, I'll get rid of that. That's the earnings. You can see obviously lots of resistance back in the past, back in 2022 actually, and again in 2023. Obviously used it as a bit of support during 2024 as well, and obviously we revisited it not so long ago at the end of 2024, and we're just kind of pushing off it again. And we do have that 200 moving average there for the weekly, which is typically a large kind of support or resistance zone to look out for on the charts. So we can get through that, and I think it won't be smooth sailing, but I think it'll be it has a chance of getting there for sure in this kind of area. Which is why I've drawn this zone, and which is why I probably should buy it to back up my thesis very shortly. And again, I'm going to write that down. So whoever brought this one up, I'm going to just quickly mention them, get them up on the screen. Again, briefcase. I love that name. It's I don't know why I love that name, but I just do. Anyway, what's next, Kay?
Next is Confluent, CFLT.
Lovely. I've had this one for ages. We had this one back months ago. Oh, looks like I've done some drawings there. So we haven't had this probably for a few months, a couple of months maybe, because of the drawings are a little bit old. But it does look like that respected the previous resistance point, which I had drawn at 32.38. Any thoughts on Confluent? Because it seems to be going pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well. And I think if you don't own a cybersecurity name in your portfolio, then this could be one of those in there as well. And I think it's from a Wall Street standpoint, it has a pretty strong buy. 18 strong buys, 6 buys, and the price target, you have like a 6-7% upside for the year. But you know how that plays out, we could see playing out pretty high. I don't particularly own this stock. I don't trade it often, but I think it's going nicely right now. We would probably see this resistance around the 36.78. That has been a resistance for back in 2023. So you are going back to those levels. So we'll see how that plays out, because the earnings has already been reported. So the next earnings will be on 5/5. So we still have a lot of time. So unless there is some catalyst that it can break through it, some kind of a merger deal, or they are doing a buyout or some other news, we might just be in this range, I would say, until the next catalyst.
What I would say is the earnings reports, they have come in all green. You can't see them on the screen here to the viewers, but we've got 14 green shields, which means they've met the last kind of 14 earnings reports, which is impressive, really impressive. One last thing I mentioned on this chart is obviously you mentioned it here, the kind of this level that we're at, well, above this level, and resistance again many times. So once we do that, we dive down to the daily. We actually have that 34 level as a potential buy zone. So that I'm going to be looking at that for sure this week. Even if it's just a short trade back up to kind of these highs here. So if I draw a line there and then put an info line as well, so that would represent, I think, over 10%. Yeah, so 11%, which is pretty good. It's a bit risky because there's no moving averages to kind of back it up or even volume to back it up, but we do have a very solid, in inverted commas, support and resistance line. So it's a bit of a risk, but one I like to take sometimes every now and then. So yeah, Confluent at $34 is a level of interest for me. So thank you for Manisha bringing that one up.
Yeah.
Is it Bill next?
Next is Bill, yes.
Also Manisha brought up a few this week.
And we have a comment from Kels Grow. Did we cover NVIDIA? Yes, we did cover NVIDIA. So you can probably rewind. It was probably 15 minutes back. We covered NVIDIA.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
We spoke in depth on that as well, which is pretty good. We'll go back to Bill, shall we? So it looks like, what do Bill Holdings do?
Let me check. I know we have covered this once and I forgot.
Dramatic drop.
Let's see. What do they do? So they provide a financial operation platform for small and mid-sized businesses worldwide. It's a SaaS company, and basically accounts payable, accounts receivable, all that stuff. Accounting software, I guess.
Nice. I think the fact it's dropped down to this level, 200 moving average on the daily chart, and it's completely disregarded this volume profile as a bit of a buying thing. It's actually slipped straight through that. So we might actually see it go even lower to maybe 55 or even lower than that, 52. That's the kind of only place I would look to buy, maybe in that kind of sort of zone. We do have a lot of price action here back in last year. If we zoom out even more, obviously a bit more depth on the charts. But overall, I think it's on a bit of a downtrend. Sorry about the message, Charles. So this is the monthly chart. Yeah, that's rough, isn't it? There's definitely potential there, though. Risk to reward. If you think that the numbers behind the company is not as bad as they're perhaps perceiving, it could be an opportunity to have a look at for the long term.
For the long term, I mean, for the next earnings, we do have up revisions. They did beat their earnings on both top line and bottom line. You will have to do, I think if you're looking for a long term, definitely look into the company, look at their financials. But if you're trading, then that's a different case.
Exactly. Awesome. And TTT?
TTT, yes. Yeah.
This one, I think, had a bit of a dramatic fall on earnings as well. Look at that. Wow.
Ooh, wow. Let me see.
That's at least 20%. At least.
Oh my God, that was bad.
Almost 30, so 28%.
Well, it's the reason is because they missed the revenue by 18.5 million. So
we are coming down to an interesting point on, I mean, it's very risky to buy this. I mean, you have to do a lot more digging in maybe if they can recover in the next couple of months and perhaps a bit more of a long-term play. But we do have the 200 moving average on the weekly chart, which has acted as support in the last few years, ish, especially here in middle parts of 2023. But yeah, I mean, it's a very dramatic fall. That's incredible.
But honestly, I mean, I'm putting this on the watch list because I have always been looking to get into TTD, and
there you go. It might be a reason to.
This could be this good swing trade, but of course, I'm not getting in right now, and I need to dig in a little bit more and see if we can find a floor first before the entry point. But
so would you, even with no kind of research, would you not even have like a small starter position or would you have to literally do the research before anything?
No, I generally, I mean, I'm not going to take like 5 days to do research on this one. But at least I want to kind of look at the numbers, the financials, read a little bit on what happened. Why did they have a revenue miss? Was it, and what's their guidance for 2025? And then see if I can actually, if we can see another pullback closer to the 75, which was the previous resistance, 75, 77, that might be a good entry point. So selling a cash secured put, little bit long term on this one at those levels, I will get a pretty good premium. So that could be another option where I can start to nibble or add to the position for a swing trade. So a couple levels, I'm just out of the bat, I'm looking at 76, 73. I'm looking at 66, 89. Those are a couple levels. But because it's like so fresh, the fall, that you want to kind of give it a couple days to see how it plays out before jumping in.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's not like so if you remember last year when CrowdStrike had a fall, you got to give it a couple days for it to let the market shake it out and find its footing before you jump in, because you could get in here and it could fall $10 more. That's you would be like, why did I buy in $10 earlier, right?
It's certainly an interesting level for risk to reward, though, because you've got this kind of, like you mentioned, this kind of level of 75, 77. We've also got the monthly 50 moving average and the weekly 200 moving average, which is, they're pretty solid support levels in inverted commas. So definitely a lot to look out for.
Like from this level to the 200-day moving average is 35%.
Exactly. Perfect. We did get your original comment. Don't worry, username NF. We do have that coming.
We do go in the order of the request received. So
yeah, he's done that twice. He's done that on thing here. We do have a question here as well from CDAD 1121. What is your recommended best beginner chart setup for day or swing trading? 1 day, 10-minute, etc. Estimated moving average. Do you want to take swing trading if I take day trading?
Yeah, sure. So for swing trading, I mostly go and look at the daily. I start from the weekly, daily, and I look at 4 hours at the max. I don't go below that. If I'm selling options and I want my option to order to fill right away, then I probably drill down to a minute to see how the trend is playing at the minute level for the option order to fill, only for the filling aspect, not for trading. That's how I look at from a swing trading and position trading, weekly, daily, and 4 hour at the max. Nothing below that.
No, so I'll take day trading. I think for me personally, for day trading, I will start the day by looking at the daily, draw up my lines, the kind of support and resistance lines, the kind of major ones, the most contact points, and of course the trend lines as well on the bigger time frames. And then I'll dive into the 1 hour. I won't do the 4. I sometimes start with the 4 hour, but the daily, but it depends kind of what asset it is. If it's an indices, sometimes I just use all of the time frames. But if I'm using for like a general stock, I'll start at the daily, then move down to the 1 hourly chart, and then continue to kind of match up the lines, get the levels drawn properly. Because with day trading, it's all about kind of levels. And if you can break those levels, then great, you can move up your stop losses, etc. And the estimated moving averages I use for day trading, 9 and the 21. But for swing trading, for me, I mean, probably a bit like you, I use the 20 and the 50, and obviously the 200 as well, as we've got on these charts that we're showing now. So I hope that helps you out, CDAD. But thank you for bringing up the comment. We really appreciate it. Any other questions from anyone else, we're happy to answer as best we can, of course. But we do try our best with those types of questions. What's up next, Kay?
Next is CLSK. I think that's Clean Spark, if I'm not wrong.
Clean Spark, yeah. I've been in this one a few times. Let's dive in a little bit more to the daily. Let's reset the chart view. Here we go. Okay, this is interesting. So we've got a bit of a wedge drawn here that I've kind of drawn. It's a bit of a loose wedge. Perhaps it's a bit of a weekly wedge. Yeah. It's like one of my famous weekly wedges where I just kind of cut through all the candles. But, that's what we do. But we're still in that wedge. For me personally, straight off the chart, straight off the bat, I would say that this is just a break of the wedge and trade the break of the wedge, no?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I was catching up the request on the Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, it depends also where Bitcoin is as well. So if you have a look at Bitcoin at the moment, I think it's dropping in the last couple of days. Nothing too dramatic, but still staying within this range of about 90,000 and 105. So if we get a breakout below or up higher for Bitcoin, and then obviously CleanSpark and stuff will follow. I think as a company they're doing pretty well with all the revenue numbers, etc. Because the last earnings report was obviously just a couple of weeks back, I think.
Yeah,
They seem to have crushed it.
Yeah, they beat both top and bottom line. Wall Street has a strong buy on it as well.
I know a lot of people are excited about this asset for sure. Not one that's fully on my radar, but I have traded it a few times just from technical levels.
If you want to cover MSTR, which is in the similar, categories, even though the request is a little bit later, but we can cover MSTR as well.
So I've actually got a 3-point fib extension drawn on this one. I have had for quite some time. It seems to be respecting it somewhat. This is the weekly chart. Obviously on the screen here, so we had a bit of resistance up at kind of 500 levels. We've got that kind of line that's flowing through the screen here of 350, as you can see, kind of through here. And we'll just dive down into the daily chart because we are obviously got this trend line that's kind of drawn through the screen here. But I think the other day I actually saw someone drew a line this way and had it as a bit of a descending triangle.
Wow, that's so many lines on your chart. I can't.
Yeah, no, I was going to get rid of a few, and then I'll get rid of this as well. I'll just hide that, so it's a bit cleaner. There you go. Okay.
Oh, yeah, nice, beautiful.
Yeah. Sometimes I can see through all of those lines and just look at the lines that I want to see, but obviously I understand that other people would look at it and think, "Wow, it's like a laser show," which makes complete sense. But this, look, we've got a descending triangle here. If we break upwards, great. If we break downwards, also great, because we can trade both ways. That's what trading is. So just be aware when you look at these charts. Don't look in one direction. Don't be biased to a certain direction, if that makes sense. Any words on that, Kay?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it very nicely. One other thing that I've noticed with MSTR that a lot of option sellers, this is one of the best stocks right now for them to trade MSTR, and they're doing it on a weekly basis. So basically getting into the stock, getting out of the stock, selling a put, getting a sign, selling a covered call, getting called away, and then just rinse and repeating for a couple months now. So because the premiums are really amazing for 335 strike, you're getting $8.57 per stock. Could go up to $9, right? So you're looking at pretty solid returns on that for a week.
I think Michael Saylor was talking a lot about in the last couple of quarters in the earnings report about how the volatility and the kind of premiums, etc., really they're quite there and they're really good for option sellers. Obviously, I don't know much about kind of option buying and selling because I don't have it here as much as you guys do, but I do understand a little bit around it, and obviously the volatility does help.
Yeah, this is one of the top stocks. If you're an option seller, this is one of the top stocks people are using to sell options on. All right, moving on to your next Amazon, which
before we do that, okay, we do have a question here. What is Yar's entry criteria? Pullbacks, support resistance levels, volume spikes, breaks, and retests. I know which ones mine are, but do you want to take this one first, or should I?
No, go ahead. Last time I took the first question. You go ahead for this time.
So entry criteria, you kind of mentioned a few kind of strategies here more than anything, maybe not criteria, but criteria for me to enter would be as much confluence as possible. So talking about kind of retests of trend lines, that's kind of what I look for, retest of resistance lines, and that's just called a breakout trading strategy. You can find it to search on YouTube, and you might even have me pop up, who knows. But you just look at the breakout strategies kind of below or higher. That's kind of what I look for. Pullbacks, not so much. I think Kay might have a bit words on that. But yeah, for me, it's breakout trading, and my entry criteria is as much confluence as possible. So volume profile, support and resistance, you've got trend lines, you've got, did I say volume? I said volume already.
Yeah.
What's the other one? It's another one. Oh, moving averages. Moving averages. So yeah, that's my kind of, I look for as much confluence as possible.
So I will definitely say that looking for as many confluences is the right strategy, and depends on what kind of a trader you are. If you're a day trader, it will be different. I personally like to sell options a lot, so I tend to trade in a range. So I like the range of so generally I would like to get at the bottom of the range and then sell at the top of the range. That range could go from $1, not $1, but $10 to $100, right? I also look to add stocks for a swing trade or a position trade if we see a major reaction. So we just covered TTD TTD, the trade desk, that has a major response, right? We are down 20+%. So that could be a good potential trade, a swing trade, or could be a position trade. So that's another criteria that I'm looking at. I generally break and retest is also a good strategy to implement, especially the one that I showed on NVIDIA. That was the break and retest, and that's when we entered into that position. So it really depends on from stock to stock, your trading style. There is no one answer to it. You can employ all these strategies, how you want to trade for that particular ticker.
Yeah, I think it's important to say it all comes with experience as well. Like my strategy has changed or adjusted, especially in the last kind of year or so, to kind of tweak my personality and tweak my trading style and tweak my kind of patience, discipline, and confidence and that kind of stuff. That whole kind of around trading, but you get that with experience. The more trades you make, the more you learn about your trading, the more you learn about yourself as well, in my opinion. But yeah, just bear that in mind if you're looking at kind of different strategies and criteria, etc. But thank you very much for the comment there, Kels. Yeah.
And just to wrap it up on that one last point is that there is no strategy out there that will work every single time.
No.
So that's why you have to learn all the different strategies to employ what will work at which scenario.
You have to become the best loser possible in trading, that's for sure.
Probably, yeah.
Right, let's go back to the charts and show
Amazon
next, is it? Okay.
You have been trading Amazon a lot lately. I haven't traded Amazon. What's your take on this one?
I have, and I've been very successful with it. Not to blow my own horn, but blow my own horn? I blow my own trumpet. We'll get rid of that, because that's an idea that I had there on the charts. But I managed to trade it here from the kind of channel that we drew down, and it kind of punched up and retested within the same day. So going back to kind of Kels's points, I had the kind of complements of the volume profile on the right here, the 20-minute average, and obviously the previous trend line. Bounced up nicely, hit my target profit zone. I think I had it set around this level here of 234. And obviously subsequently went higher. That happens with trading. They sometimes run away from you. But then this one as well, I like at the moment. If I dive down into maybe the 3-hour chart, seems to be breaking this kind of trend line that's coming down now. And also coupled with all the other lines I've got on the screen. I know I've got lots of lines this week. But that's what happens when you're trading. You draw lots of lines. But yeah, anyway, I like it for a move higher here. Not so much on the 3-hour chart. Let's go back to the daily. But yeah, you've got the 50-minute average and obviously this previous trend line here as well. And lots of volume. So to me, that's enough confluence. And to me, that's for me to go a lot higher. Starting to lose my words now, okay? I might have to wrap this up in about 5 to 10 minutes.
All right. So we
it's bad when I can't talk.
we can go through a little bit quickly. So yeah, so I think Amazon is pretty at a good spot. I think making lower, higher highs. I guess after if it pulled back to this level, and I hope we can get a bounce from that level, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is Google. Another, if you don't mind, I can take that one.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for explaining patiently to us newbies. There's no worries at all. Money managers, we try to do, try and help as many people as possible in a space of 1 hour per week. What do you say, Google?
Right, yeah, Google. So
do you want the GL one?
I'm looking at GOG, the Class C one. The reason is the reason if I'm trading Google, Google is not going to go bankrupt. The reason you buy a Class A versus Class C is basically if the company goes bankrupt, if you are a C class shareholder, you will probably not get anything back. But Google going bankrupt, we'll have other bigger problems. I think the reaction post earnings, that the dip is where we got in, and then basically riding it to that level, and basically that is going to be the gap fill. Is what I'm targeting is about 10%. And by the way, Google is also part of my top 5 2025 stocks. So I think the reaction in Google, especially for the first couple of years when they launched Gemini, has been pretty comical. But I think they are slowly starting to get into the AI space in a much, much better way. They are able to monetize better than Microsoft. So I think Google is from an AI positioning standpoint, is a much stronger company and stock, and especially with the search engine, as they get better, they'll be able to monetize it much better than Microsoft. That's my opinion. I like Google at these levels. I'm slowly starting to add it to my long-term position as well, because it's below its 20 and 50-day moving average, and the 200 is slowly starting to climb up. What I would really like to watch is that we do have a gap between 170 to 182. So if we do see a rejection at these levels, we could quickly fill that gap, and then I would definitely like to target the 176.59, which is a 200-day moving average.
Yeah, and we've got that kind of drawn here on the screen, haven't we, with that kind of line coming through there. Going back to that confluence point, you've got kind of 3 points of confluence if it does come down here. And we've got the gap fill, you've got the 200 moving average and that trend line as well. So I like it at 183 personally, but I like it even more at 178. So better in mind when you're building your positions. You don't have to, add at a certain position. You can actually have multiple positions if you want to build out
Exactly.
the trade.
Next up is Meta, and amazing how, I'm not touching it. I'm just sitting on my long-term position and just letting it ride.
Yeah, I literally never trade Meta. I always look at it and think, oh yeah, it looks like a good one. I could trade to enter, and I miss it, and then it does this. So it's one of those that always escapes me. But I learned that from the trading.
Also from an RSI standpoint, right? You're 83.98. So it's not a great position to. It's not a great place to have an entry point. So at this point in time, I don't see any trading opportunity in Meta. I would just wait for pullbacks to add to those key levels for my long-term position.
84 is the current RSI level. Incredible.
All right. Awesome. Next up is Adobe.
We've been instructed to do the monthly, weekly, and daily on Adobe. So we'll go for the monthly first, obviously, because it's always a top-down approach with trading, with charts in general. Do you want to take this one, or
No, go for it. I'm not a big fan personally for Adobe because they promised a lot, but they haven't delivered much. But again, it's a solid company. It's my personal preference.
So we've got a bit of a wedge here on the monthly chart for sure, which is probably what who is it brought this one up? Username NF. It's probably what they've got drawn on their chart as well, which is fair enough. We'll get rid of. There's not much volume at this point, but there's lots of contacts at this point of 440 as well that we've got drawn on the screen.
Yeah, this is a very
for me, it's in this wedge, and until it comes out of the wedge, I'm not interested really in terms of a long-term trade. I could probably trade it within the wedge, but still, that's not how I typically trade generally. If anything, it's probably going to go lower, in my opinion, just because you've got all the moving averages above where we are. And this is the weekly chart as well. So there's still plenty of price action to be had, and that's well over 10%. If you look at that, if it does, peak up here, maybe with the market, the way it's going, and then perhaps we get a bit of rejection back down to the bottom of the wedge, and that's minus 18. A quick look at the daily then.
I think one of the reasons that I think maybe you're interested in, if you have a long-term position, this is a good point to add because the stock is trading below the 200-day moving average.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, a typical strategy for a lot of people, especially long-term traders, isn't it?
Yeah, and on the daily, you can see that the stock has started to change direction.
You've got an inverse head and shoulders there that's kind of played out already. So perhaps someone maybe got in here around this sort of level, which again is that 440 level that I've drawn. So that would have been an optimal entry, perhaps, for a trade back up to kind of 200 moving average for sure.
And fill that gap that we had back in December? Yeah.
That one there, yeah. So that's an interesting point. So it's definitely plenty of things happening on the daily chart. It's quite exciting, but not one I would probably trade, given where it is on the chart. In accordance with the market the way it is. So despite QQQ very frothy, very positive at the moment, but a stock like this is not. I tend to try and go with stocks that are also going with the market, if that makes sense, from a swing point of view anyway.
All right. Yeah. So let's cover, we have Baba, HIMS, PayPal, and SMCI. Baba.
Well, look at that. I mean, what a trade. I am currently in this, as you can see, all the way from down there, but ready to get rid of that.
Is it because of the Apple news also?
Maybe. I think everyone's just got a bit of a FOMO trade kind of coming in now. I think people are kind of thinking, oh, this one's going to blow up. Because if you can see here on the chart, it looks like it's extended. It looks like it's, perhaps reaching its peak. But if you move out, even just a few years ago, this stock was in the 400s. 300s, yeah, look at that. So it's still a long way to go potentially for a giant in China. And obviously with all the AI stuff kind of going on as well, with DeepSeek and all that kind of playing in. And what was the Apple news that you said it was? I feel like I should know more about this.
Yeah, Apple is tying up with Alibaba for providing the AI Siri, basically the AI Apple Intelligence in China.
Okay, right. So yeah, you can see on the chart, there's still so much to go, isn't it? You've got at least 178 there.
Yeah, 141% from to the top, basically from here onwards.
And then with these sorts of stocks, it kind of drags some stocks with it. So like Baidu, not necessarily Neo or XPeng or Li, but Baidu, JD, and all that, Pinduoduo, perhaps it kind of brings them up as well. But yeah, one to watch for sure for further upside. You don't always think that you're too late to these moves. You can always get in. I'm not saying buy it now, but I'm saying analyze the chart. And maybe if it comes down to maybe 110, 105, then perhaps that might be a good time to add. Yeah, I like it, and I'm happy with where I am in the trade, of course, because it's going very well.
All
What's
right.
next?
Next up is HIMS.
HIMS, awesome.
This is blowing up as well. Oh my God, look at that.
So I don't actually have it drawn on the chart anymore, but I had the bull flag because it had a nice move from September of last year, and it had a bull flag drawn out. I'll just redraw it. And then I just didn't enter, which I'm really, really annoyed about because that happens all the time. It even came back down to retest it. So let me zoom in a bit more so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So it broke the bull flag, came back down, retested it, which is literally the playbook that I go by, and just flew. It took off. So another one has escaped my profit potential. Do you trade much for HIMS or?
No, I actually was trading HIMS when it was in the 20s and 30s, but then I forgot about the ticker altogether. And
it happens.
and then it just blew up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 133%.
So what's it? So the big question, the elephant in the room is: would you trade at these levels or would you wait, because it's trading at 87.68 in the RSI? So anytime it's in the oversold territory, sorry, overbought, or oversold, I trend to stay away.
Yeah, I mean, I only really short on frothy stocks if it's above 90 on the RSI. So like GME back in the day, I think SMCI again was actually one of them. It was kind of 95, 98 or something silly like that. But even still, it's very hard to trade. And you have to do it with a very small portion of the portfolio. Otherwise, you can get burnt very quickly.
Yeah.
Because obviously FOMO sets in. Short interest could potentially be a case. I don't know if it is for this one or not. But it can be a case for a very large move in the stock. But yeah, I mean, 133%, nothing to kind of swim at.
The short interest is 27% on HIMS.
Oh, there you go. So that's another reason why this kind of move is kind of playing out, because people are shorting it, but they had to cover their shorts.
Yeah.
Therefore, they had to buy the stock. So yeah, no, it's done very, very well, and it's escaped both of us. So maybe we should move on.
All right, let's move to SMCI, and then we'll close it out with PayPal.
Cool. SMCI, I'll leave that one to you because you put it up on the channel not so long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the way I am playing SMCI, actually, I've been playing SMCI since the 30s. That's where I got in. I played my first breakout to 42. That's when I sold my first covered call, and then I have a couple other tranches left. Basically, what I'm now next level I'm waiting for is to break the 49.53, which is the prior resistance. So if we could see a strong potential to break that, next would be targeting the 200-day SMA. So basically what I'm doing is I'm waiting for my one covered call to get called away and then wait on the other tranches basically for a for a swing trade. So I think the key would be, if you are looking to enter, I would wait and see if we can get rejected at the 49 level, which was the previous resistance, and then assess whether we want to enter or not. But SMCI has played out very well. I think this could be a sleeper pick for 2025. Yeah.
So the whole kind of noise around fraudulent activity doesn't put you off?
We did see a reaction on the stock because of that, and things are being taken care of. Now SMCI I believe it's part of S&P 500. So I think they are doing all they can. Yeah, I mean, that's why the position is a much smaller position versus what I have put in NVIDIA trade or AMD trade. But I'm still trading SMCI.
Of course.
It's a risk. It's a risk. I mean, if a news comes out that, hey, they failed their audit from the independent auditor and the stock is going to be delisted, guess what? You're going to have a massive crash on that day.
Just a quick observation from me is obviously, it's looking a bit higher, but perhaps on the weekly here, you do have a bit of resistance coming up from a trend line, but also that level you mentioned as well, 49.50. That's kind of coming in ×2. So just be careful with these levels if you are looking to buy. Make sure you kind of follow the stock closely if you are trading it, of course, especially with these names.
Yeah.
They can get you pretty fast. So last one's PayPal, is that right?
PayPal, yep. And I know we have more, but I think since we are almost out of time, so we'll cover the PayPal and wrap it up.
It's good to know the comments are flowing through, though. Obviously, come back next week around at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We're here every weekend, and we hope that you are too. So yeah, I mean, look at that. We've got a gap down from the earnings. Perhaps we can maybe look towards filling that in the next couple of months, maybe up towards the next earnings. Didn't actually see the earnings report. Was it good or bad? Did you catch it or not so much?
No, I don't follow PayPal anymore. Yeah, I know it's a pretty hot stock for a lot of people, but I personally I'm not that thrilled with PayPal.
We do have a potential. I mean, it's not really a trend line because it's not really doing much, but perhaps a bit of resistance coming up. Obviously, do the volume here on the right side, and these two lows that kind of came in to make that line kind of flowing through the screen there. So a bit of resistance here, maybe. We've got a big gap down to kind of 72. Actually, that's not a big gap down. It's not that big at all. About 5%. Yeah, not really much to talk about on this chart apart from the gap fill above. So if you are looking for upside, then that would be my target for sure. But I'm not going to get into this.
But if you want to get in, you would want to wait for that trend line to break, retest, and then get in and drive it to the gap fill and maybe above the gap fill.
So you're talking like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the strategy I would employ. So you would have a very tight stop loss so that, just in case that retest is a fake retest.
100%. I like that. I'll keep that on the chart. Why not? So if someone brings it up next week or the week after, we'll see how it kind of performs to these very accurate lines that we've drawn. Awesome. That concludes the kind of orders requests. I'm sorry if we couldn't get to all of them. We do really, really appreciate them coming through. I know we had a few on there soon. Serve was one of them, and obviously OSCR, which I know a few people are kind of talking about that. I think it's Oscar Health. So interesting to see how that one performs in the next couple of weeks. I think it went up quite a lot on after hours on Friday. But yeah, we'll wrap this one up. We obviously thank you very much to Wolf once again for letting us use the platform. A massive 4.6 viewers over the course of this last hour and a bit. Actually, we ran on well over an hour, and I'm going to miss my dinner, but that's okay. Anything you want to say, Kay?
No, this was a great session. We even reduced our number of picks for the week, and still we couldn't complete all the audience requests. So this is great. Keep it coming. Come early. Put your request as soon as possible because we go in the order we receive the request. So if you didn't cover it this week, make sure you come back next week, and we'll cover that for sure.
Awesome. With that, we say happy trading. Obviously, tomorrow is not a market day, so do relax, go over some past trades, or just spend some time with some family. But yeah, overall, trade safe. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome.